Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Secret Sunday session. Today I'm joined by Madison Hare. Welcome, Maddie. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
No, it's great to have you on, I think, to really talk about obviously your story, where you started to where you are now in the health and fitness space, as well as addressing some topics that I think is quite dominant right now in the industry in terms of health and fitness and the way that women and men perceive their bodies, which I'm super excited to get your opinion and insight on. But first off, before we jump into all the nitty-gritty stuff, who are you and what do you do with yourself for those people that are not aware of who you are?
My name's Madison Hare. I live in Sydney and I run a gym called BAIFIT or Be All In Fitness with my partner of 10 years, now fiance, to be married this year. I'm passionate about all things health and fitness. Running BAIFIT and growing our online platform has been the greatest joy of my life, and seeing the development of the people within our community and how they're achieving their health and fitness goals is what sets me on fire. I love seeing people that are confident within the gym. But yeah, that is just my purpose, help people be confident within themselves in all areas of their life.
I love that. And congratulations as well on developing that. I mean, it's in not just developing that, but in your personal life as well. Becoming
Yeah,
obviously getting married this year. That's so exciting.
I
I would
know.
imagine so much pressure though as well.
I know lots of people say, like, I can't imagine working with my partner. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine not working with my partner. Like, we've been able to develop a business and a personal relationship at the same time. And it is also one of like the greatest things in my life. I'm so proud of our relationship.
That's so beautiful to have, I think, that bond with someone that, as you said, you're not, ripping each other's hair out every second. Amazing. I mean, okay, what a career, what a story, what a journey. I mean, it sounds like you're really living the life that you're wanting to lead right now.
Yeah.
But take me back. Why this industry? What drove you to work in health and fitness and have this perspective in this space?
Yeah, so I've always was a really sporty kid. Like, I'll think back to when I was like 5 or 6 years old. I had two brothers, and especially my older brother, I just wanted to be exactly like him. And he played AFL, he played basketball. So I lived in Melbourne at the time and was the only girl doing AFL because I just wanted to be sporty and be just like him. But very early on, being active was just a huge part of my identity. And all through my adolescence, played a lot of competitive basketball. And I'm almost 6 foot, so I'm very tall. Being
Wow.
active is like a huge part of my personality. Then I actually met my partner when we were 16 at a nationals basketball competition. So, of all places, we were in Ballarat, Victoria, met there. And then through, I guess, our relationship together, he was really into fitness. And then I started, I guess, moving away from competitive sport into more gym training, and sort of leveraging those to help, I guess, one another at the same time. I studied my marketing and finance degree and was heading down the corporate route, but my partner's personal training business was going so well that we decided, let's combine our forces and create BAYFIT. But I've really been able to take a lot of the lessons from, I guess, my early life of loving sport and being a female that loved sport and wanted to stay fit and healthy. I felt like that's what I've kind of carried forward into now what we do at BAYFIT.
Incredible. I mean, looking at that, you said in the younger years, sport was such a big part of your identity and identifying who you were. Did you at all think at one stage that it was almost not right for you being a female? As you said, you were in quite like male dominating sports as well.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, I was really lucky to have a very good circle of people around me that were also sporty. But I can distinctly remember in year 10 that you could do elective sports. Everyone had to choose a sport, and all of the kids at school and all of my friends chose to do non-sport. So I followed the crowd and did non-sport just like them because it wasn't that cool to go off and do the competitive sport on a Thursday afternoon. I think that point I realized, like, oh, that this doesn't align with me. And I was really disappointed in myself for making that decision. And I guess that's just an example of constantly like this thing of when I was growing up, everyone was going to the parties on Saturday night, but I had my basketball game Sunday morning. So it was this constant, like, I didn't feel like I quite met the mold of what most teens were doing. But I'm so proud that I soldiered on because it would have been easy to just stop playing altogether, but I played all the way through high school into my uni degree as well, and then kind of leverage that into the fitness industry as well. So it was really difficult, but I'm just so grateful that I stuck with it. And my partner, Bailey, he was a huge part of encouraging me to like stay true to who I am.
Mm. How do you soldier on? Because I feel a lot of young people can be in this situation where
Yeah.
they're trying to pursue a career professionally, or as you said, they have that love for sport, but everyone else or culture is telling them, you're a young 20-year-old, you're a teenager, you go out on a Saturday night and you enjoy your weekends and you shouldn't be having this pressure or to think about it. But if it's truly innate in you that this is what you want to do, how do you learn to stick to that value and the authenticity?
Yeah, I think that it's funny. I often reflected back on like what really makes me happy, and being active and playing sport, like it gave me a adrenaline rush and endorphins that I couldn't get going out on the Saturday night, because the Saturday night might have been that fleeting moment of belonging and wow, this is such outrageous, wild fun. But the next morning, I would often reflect of like, oh, that was not me, and I feel so horrific now.
Mm.
Having that consistent self-reflection of like what really does give you a long-term gain. And for me, it always came back to like, I know that health and fitness is really true to me. And it's also making me the person that I want to be and someone that I would really truly respect. So that constant reflection, but also finding people that are in a similar position to you that make those choices feel encouraged and they don't judge or make you feel like you're less than for not, I guess, following the same path as other people.
As a young person, how do you have that perspective and find those people?
I don't know, honestly. I'm just really lucky that I had like I credit a lot of it to my partner Bailey. Like he's a huge deep thinker and he really helped me unpack a lot of these things in those times. Because again, like your late teens, early 20s are the most difficult times of trying to find who you are. Like so challenging. And I reflect on that time and I see people in that same stage now that are trying to find their confidence and who they want to be. It is so challenging. But if you can find others around you that are having a similar thought pattern, I really think that makes a difference.
It is. I think a lot of the time, like in the charity that we do the work with, it's very much you do have to find your people. We have
Yeah.
this mindset that people are going to come to us. And unfortunately, it's not the way of the world. You
Yeah.
have to go out and find your people and find your communities and put yourself out there. But knowing and trusting as well that those people are out there, you just
Yeah,
sometimes have to do the work.
absolutely. And we often say now, like, we want our gym to be the community that people are looking for. And when they come, this is often this experience that they have in that we have like a Saturday morning session, and it's our community session. We call it a Super Saturday, and it is the outrageous fun. It is great energy, great vibes, coffee after, and we're trying to provide this alternative to, I guess, the Saturday night or the Friday night activities that young people are trying to find a sense of community in. And we're providing this really positive, healthy space that you can come and have the same level of connection, but hopefully it sets you up for a better weekend as well.
Yeah, I love that. I'm interested when you said, create this healthy space. What does healthy mean to you? Like, what does that definition look like?
I think it encompasses more than just physical health. For me, mental health is so huge and has been a really big part of my identity and my relationship with my body. It's all been a lot tied to how I feel internally. So having like, I guess, connection to community, a positive outlook on life, how you feel about yourself, and then obviously being able to express, I guess, your activities in a way that makes you feel good. Like just because I do CrossFit training and I run, that doesn't mean that is health. Like Pilates, whatever makes you feel good is what I think is so important about movement.
Do you think we're getting that wrong these days?
Yeah. I think social media, I like love it so much. It's a huge part of my job, but I think it's having a very negative effect as well on what people think the standard is meant to be, and just seeing how extreme things are getting online of what is right or wrong and different challenges and different regimes. It's just it's really difficult. And I really think back to what I was like in my late 20s, like late teens to early 20s. Like, yeah, such a tough time to have the online expression really influencing that.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you become observer of social media online, and I think we're very much living in a consumer culture where we're waiting for everybody to tell us what to do. What's
Yeah.
the answer? How do we be fit? How do we be healthy? And we're feeding into this. And the more that we feed into it, I think the more we lose who we are as people because, as you
Yeah.
said, we're allowing other people to define what health is for us instead of going on almost a quest to discover what that is for and what we need for who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when the people on some of the influencers online, they're so persuasive in how they're saying things, and it sounds like, and even me, I often think I'm a gullible person, and that if you told me to take this magic pill and it would cure all of my sickness, I would do it because I'm just so gullible. And some of the way that people present these ideas online, like it sounds so convincing, and that you believe that it's true, but having that critical thinking is a huge pillar of making sure you have the right ideals.
Have you ever fallen down that trap?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. And like, I always think back to when I remember doing my first, because again, I was very sporty, but in the off season or like over the summer holidays, that's when I would get into doing some kind of gym programs. And this is when I was 14, 15. And I can remember buying the Bikini Body Guide, and I remember I did my first workout and I was like, oh my gosh, this is health. And then I did my first meal prep from the program. And I can distinctly remember this is the first meal I would have ever cooked for myself. And it was one chicken breast, handful of spinach, and tomatoes. And I just remember thinking, like, this is,
Ooh.
I am health right now. And I look back and it's like, no, oh my gosh. And like just being a young person, there were so many different eras of trends or following different things online that now I look back on and think, oh my gosh, I wish I had have thought differently. So I obviously can't change the past, but I can impact some of those younger girls that are going through it. So that's what I'm really trying to do within our gym and online as well.
What motivated you during that time, if you reflect back on that younger self? Why sign up for that program? What was that motivation there?
I can remember again when I was in that young year, like I said, I'm very tall, and in those periods, I was so much taller than all my friends, and then by default, it meant I just had a bigger frame than everyone else. And I remember being super self-conscious of my thighs and quads, and that was my biggest insecurity as a young person, especially when but it's just what I looked like. I just unfortunately had bigger dimensions than everyone else. It's completely in proportion. So I definitely had this idea of like I need to get it was the thigh gap was a trend at the time. And
Mm.
like again, it was always trying to push your legs wider and wider to have this thigh gap, which doesn't make sense for my body now. It's just so ridiculous. But that was a huge reason that I think I did in the off season decide I was going to try some of these different things, I guess, that were trending online.
I feel like I'm being a therapist right now, but then my next question is why? I guess then again, that thigh gap, what was that going to give you?
I don't know. It's just I think a sense of fitting in and being like the majority. And I often, yeah, think that because I was a bit sporty, a bit different, that maybe I didn't fit the traditional like tween age girl. So it was trying to adopt a essence of being the same, which is that identity shift of like, are you confident within yourself to stand alone on the island, or do you feel like you need the people around you?
It's crazy, right? Because I see it, forming even into today's younger generation, the
Yeah.
same mindset. And we think, are we not evolving? Are we not developing and understanding that we don't need to fit in and that we
Yeah.
don't need to look a certain size? And yet we are still seeing the same mindsets turning in the same age range. And I think
Yes.
it's a real pivotal time for a young woman. As you said, like the body is changing both physically and mentally, you learning
Yeah.
who you are. And it's such a pressure point, I think, for young women to understand how they want to feel within their body and also embracing how their body is changing. And looking back now upon reflection, what would you tell that younger self, or what would you feel like she needed during that time?
Yeah, I think. back on this a lot because I try and be this person, I guess, for the younger girls that I know within the gym. And it's just the like the verbal reassurance that being different is actually really cool. And that the more unique you are, the more true to yourself you are. It actually is such a privilege to be yourself. So I just would constantly love to like have that reassurance from that older person who's, I guess, walked in their shoes. But I guess also reflecting online. And I think now, to the world's credit, there are a lot more, there is so much more diversity, and that you can definitely find people that resonate more significantly with you. But I guess seeing more representation of different types of people, different types of bodies is just such a great way to make you feel more happy within yourself too.
Mm. I often think this because I'm constantly thinking about like, how do we make this space better? And I look at the body positive movement and sometimes I feel, and I'm interested to get your opinion on it, but there's this idea that, we want to be body positive and we want to learn to love ourselves, and yet there's still such a big focus on the body.
Yeah.
Do you think that that is where we should be heading? Like seeing so many more diverse bodies. Yes, it's great. But is there still too much of a focus on our body as who we
Yeah.
are?
100%. And like all videos online, like it tends to have like the transformation of like the different stages of a body. And like I do think that there's merit to it, but I just know how critical I was of my body at those stages. So that constant reflection on like, oh, but do I look different in that way? And I think that's why we preach so much like at our gym and just in general, like we are so performance based in that like when girls come into the gym, often their first thing is, oh, I really want to tone up and I want to grow my glutes and all these different things. And instantly we say, like, okay, like I understand that. We are not going to focus on that. We're going to work on building the strength within your squat. We're going to work out on improving your whatever 2 kilometer row time so that we give them very specific performance goals. And I think by focusing on performance instead, it's so funny that a few months later, they don't even talk about their bodies anymore. It's instead, oh, I want to get stronger. Oh my gosh, I want to be able to run faster. And having that switch, I think, is the ultimate key to letting go of the fear of what your body looks like and instead just focusing on what it can do.
Mm, I think that's so powerful what you said there. It's not focusing what it looks like, but what it can do, and being
Yeah.
able to push it, I think, to that capability for yourself, proving to yourself that you can do it, which sounds like you're doing amazing work in that space with your gym and talking, I guess, about that. How did you, in terms of like developing the gym and coming up with this idea, why and how are you going to ensure that your space and your gym was going to be different to the 500 other gyms that say are
Yeah.
in Sydney or that are preaching similar messages? Like, what was going to be your key to being different?
Yeah, so I guess like the origins of our gym was that my partner Bailey was personal trainer, and I guess I was his first client. I was his case study, and
I love that.
I think he learned a lot from training me, in that I'd done a lot of sport, but in terms of my actual like strength development, like I was not very strong. And I think like I remember he asked me, he's like, okay, in today's session, we're gonna do a pull-up. And I couldn't do it. He's like, what? You can't do it. I'm like, no, like I'm very sporty, but I haven't got like a great actual strength ratio. So he really focused a lot of his training on women. And I think as well, since he was my boyfriend, he wasn't that like he wasn't that intimidating. So he had a very strong female base of client. And I think he learned so much from them. So when we opened the gym again, I think a few years ago, our split was 70% females, 30% guys, which
Oh,
was so great. And it was a credit to the fact that we were making this environment that it wasn't about what you looked like, it was about what you wanted to achieve and how you were going to go about that. And the mentality side of training so much more. So we very much have like continued that ethos of building strong, confident, capable people. And we really don't even talk about aesthetics in our gym at all. And it's not even that we think about it though, because we're just so much more obsessed with pushing our like actual ability.
I think that's amazing, and it's so needed, as we said, in this health and fitness space with there's so much messaging and information that's going around. I think it's quite powerful in terms of the relationship that you and your partner have developed to then provide a space for this gym to ultimately share with others. What do you think though you get out of it? I mean, you said you've created this space and you're very sporty yourself, but what does this gym give you?
Oh gosh, it's a great question. So much like the joys and the absolute highlights of my life have occurred since we've had this gym. Like all of my peaks are moments within the gym. And I think that the sense of I know it's so silly because I should feel like I belong in life, but the belonging that I get from the gym too, like, has just been like such a nice reassurance from those moments where I was younger and doubting choices of if I was following the right path. It's so nice to now have this place where I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I stuck it out because I truly have my people, my place, and somewhere I can express myself so authentically. And that is just, yeah, the joy of my life is this gym.
It's amazing. And I think I want to counter argue that then with, do you find that you've found a balance? Because we can also, I think, then slip into we identify too much with something
Yeah.
and then we become so obsessed with something that we don't have anything else that we feel like we bring. But have you found
Yeah.
that happy medium?
Yes, I think much more now. The early years of starting a business are chaotic and busy and crazy. And I think the fact that not only was my business partner, but he was also my lover. So I would see him at all hours of the day, which meant that the lines between work and leisure just were completely blurred. There was no boundaries. But as we've grown and grown our team, we've been able to create much healthier boundaries. And even just with our friends, like most of our friends come to our gym, but I'm much better at saying, hey, today I don't really want to talk about gym things. Let's talk about life instead. And it's so funny. So I haven't played sport in the last 3 years since having the gym, but I'm actually playing this year. I'm going back to play
Oh,
basketball. It's this full circle moment of I had to stop my sporting career to focus on running a business. The business is now big enough that it has like the legs to stand without me there. So now I'm able to go back and play sport and come back as a much stronger version of myself, so much more confident. And it's just so nice as well to have something that is completely separate from work.
are you nervous?
Yes, but in saying that, when I used to play, I think because I was the sporty girl or basketball was my identity then, I felt so much pressure, pressure to perform because I was that girl. But now that I've had the space and I've developed so many other passionate areas of myself and different aspects of my identity, I don't really hold on to that as being me. So I just have so much less stress in going back. And the main reason I'm going back is to have fun. And having that mindset has meant that I've just enjoyed every second of it so far.
That's amazing. I think it's beautiful when you can return to something that you have experienced when you're younger, knowing
Yeah,
you're turning up as a different version and taking, as you said, taking away that pressure and just going and enjoying it. Like, what a privilege.
I know. And I just wish like the mindset I have now, I'm like, oh, if I had this mindset when I was a bit younger, I would have enjoyed it so much more and I would have been such a different player. But hindsight 24, you can't do anything. But I do feel like I can give that mindset to some of the young girls that are playing.
It is. It's beautiful that, as I said, and so often we think, oh, we'd love to go back. And I think about this often if I had my head screwed on my younger self. But I think we're all meant to learn certain lessons when we are. And when you're young, your brain isn't fully developed. So you're not really going to take in any certain messages anyway.
100.
Looking at, I guess, once again, the health and fitness space, we're talking a lot, obviously, about fitness and about health, and that being such a pivotal part of, your journey, as well as giving you so much life. But it can have a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And people, as we mentioned, can get quite obsessed in chasing this performance goal or this look or this certain way. Do you find that you're able to prioritize rest and stepping away from that aspect, even though it gives you so much? And so often we can convince ourselves that, no, it's for the good, it's for the great, it gives me so much good emotions and feelings. But there's sometimes our bodies do need to rest.
Rest, absolutely. It's something that I'm forever working through because it is just such a tricky thing when I do love exercising and I feel like I get so much out of it. But subbing out the morning gym session for a walk can be like much more beneficial in the long run. But for me, again, it's having healthy boundaries and making sure that I almost have to schedule in the rest and make sure that I've got a plan for it because it's so easy just to I'm such a creature of habit and I love routine. So I could rinse and repeat the same routine forever. So I have to kind of pause, and every Friday I write out my next week's plan and I'll highlight, okay, Thursday, so which is today, was my morning off. So I work from home, I have really good boundaries. I eat the exact same as I would on a training day, but instead of going to the gym, I'm going to go for a walk instead. And I think for someone that is a stickler for routine, it has to be a planned rest because if I just was to just rest when I feel like it, I know I would just get caught up in doing the same thing every day.
I think it's a really good tool as well, as you said, planning that rest, especially if you're a creature of habit. And it's very interesting when I think about it as well, because, there's this messaging around listening to your body. And I'm curious about your perspective on that as someone that is quite routine based. Do you ever wake up and go, oh, I'm just not feeling it today? Or you're so routine driven that you can sort of push through that?
Yeah, it depends how much I've got on. If I'm burnt out, like I know I'm burnt out, and that's what I will instill like a different like routine. But in saying that, most of the time I'm such a creature of habit and routine that I do struggle to listen to my body because if I've planned to go to the gym on certain days, I will do that, which is why I've gone through the periods of overtraining, undereating. Like I've had that experience and I know how terrible it made me work, how terrible my relationships were, how much it impacted so many other areas of my life. So, whilst I'm still developing that intuition, that's why I've resorted to like actually planning in rest.
Mm, yeah, it is. It's all about, I think, having that management and prevention plan to better
Yeah.
yourself. But you did mention a bit healthy boundaries. So important. But what does that look like to you, and how do you communicate that to yourself and others?
Yeah. So, it's so funny that the gym and the work, so the gym is my workplace and my happy place. So, boundaries for me is just it's so hard as like I don't know if it's a female thing, but something I really struggle with is feeling selfish. And that if I put a boundary in place, it's this perspective of, oh, you're being selfish. But boundaries are not selfish. They're just actually looking after yourself and having that care factor that if I can look after myself better here, I know that I will be able to show up as a better partner, show up as a better business owner, and all those different areas. So I kind of look at it as boundaries is self-preservation so that I can give the absolute best of myself when I do need to show up. And having that kind of mindset shift is, I think, a game changer as well.
Do you have an example of a healthy boundary?
So every Tuesday night is my night completely off work. So I switch off at 4:30 p.m. And then in the afternoon, either I have like a self-care activity, and that's a rotation between like a sauna, or if it's like going to the Woolies and buying like my favorite meal, cooking that at home, having some kind of moment of self-care and scheduling it in. Again, it's my
Mm.
night where I do it for myself. And my partner, he stays at the gym later. So I actually have that time to myself as well. So, like, that's just like one example. But depending what I have on the year, that will rotate. But I try and have one weeknight where I really do have time and space away from everything.
It sounds like almost a perfect routine with a perfect recipe to create such a life that you are wanting to live. Are there any imperfections in there in terms of when it doesn't all go to plan and some
All the
weeks
time,
it
all the time. It sounds perfect, but it is so not. Like people, I'm like, social media is a lie. This is not my whole life. Like I might have posted that night, but I was probably having a cry in the afternoon. Like things constantly go wrong and issues happen all the time. The routine is thrown off course. And this is something as a perfectionist and as a routine oriented person, like it is a never ending journey of trying to learn that like life is not about things going as planned. It's about things going off course, but still having fun. And like that is like my new little mantra that like, as long as I am making the most of every moment, good or bad, chaotic or organized, that is the game. Can you still do it with a smile type thing?
I love that. That's the game. We're all here to play. We've all just got to like navigate our little pawns that are like running around.
Yeah,
And I feel that so much with I'm quite a perfectionist and routine based as well. And so often you can catch yourself with perfecting the routine or just going through the routine. And sometimes things don't go to plan. Life does not create that perfect habit and rules for you. And you have to adjust and you have to amend. And it is not a highlight reel like we see on Instagram. And it's really hard, I think, for consumers as watching or followers watching people online to be like that's not the reality. And
Yeah.
having that mindset to constantly remind yourself that people aren't living this high life. Yeah, sure, it's great and it has its moments, but it's not reality 100% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny, like, so we have a podcast too, and we did an episode at the end of last year where we spoke about our lowlights of the year. And like Bailey and I went into a lot of depth on things. And I had some members of the gym, they listened and came up and said, like, what? Like, but you're always smiling and you're always so happy. I cannot believe that you would have those type of things happening in your life. And I was like, oh, it's probably my fault too. I need to show more of the realness. But especially when posting online, like it's just like not in my nature to post a video of me crying, like, oh, today was the worst day ever. But
Yeah.
I'm also like, I feel like I should do it more of just expressing that life is not as perfect as it may seem. And if you're having a bad day, know that everyone else has had similar too.
Is there a fear there of, I'm often curious about this with, people that are quite authentic in who they are online in terms of in real life, but is there a fear in being vulnerable online?
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, because, and I've always struggled with this and spoken at length professionally and to my partner about this idea that I often used to worry that the gym, that Bailey and I, we are the billboards. So people want to come to the gym because we're meant to be this advertisement of health and happiness. So if you want to be healthy and happy, go to BAIFIT because look at them. And that, like, I struggled in terms of my body image because I felt like I had to be this great billboard, but
The
also
poster
as
girl.
a poster girl. And in terms of how I acted, like, oh, would you want to go to a gym if someone looked like they were sad? Like, and it's this real internal issue and dialogue that I have with myself that I've had to work through because and it's so funny, my nutritionist or dietitian, Nina, she's the best. And I think she said to me once, she was like, oh, but don't you think that if your members saw you, let's say, having a cheat meal out, I think she gave the example of, that it would make them feel better because that's them too. And the more relatable you are, it actually is better. And that was a really good turning point of me being like, no, I need to be not just up, I need to be kind of even keel, show the good and the low, and be more consistently even.
Mm. I think it is because we all do feel it. Like we all have those days where we don't feel our best. And if we're soaked into this world of social media that's only selling us this environment that it's always happy and good, we think like we're doing something wrong or that we're
Yeah.
different and our lives are wrong. And I think it's that pressure as well, as you said, to be that poster girl in that moment for a brand that you're creating would have been so tough at the start and throughout all of it. Like, how did you manage that? As you said, you had to work through it, but how did
Yeah.
you get through that?
The early, like our first year was by far the most difficult because that's when I guess we're trying to drive member numbers and it's very uncertain. So again, when things feel out of control, what can you control? And for me, that was what I was putting in my body and how I was training to make sure I had this optimal health aesthetic. But that led to the most crazy burnout and just terrible habits for my health that I would never recommend for anyone else. So I think it was that once the chaotic side of the business had settled, I realized, okay, I need to work on myself a lot more. So for me, that was seeking professional help, but also speaking to my loved ones and expressing, like, hey, I'm actually really struggling in terms of how I'm meant to look or how I'm meant to act. And then it just meant, like, I guess, coming to terms with that and creating strategies that help me feel better.
Did you feel shame at all asking for help?
Yes, definitely. Again, and I think it kind of feeds into that like perfectionist, but also poster girl of if you're meant to be the health and fitness girl, like how dare you not know everything and how dare you not know how to kind of fix these issues. So definitely kept it internal for too long. But once I did kind of let my inner circle in on what I was experiencing, it's just like a problem shared is a problem halved. And it just meant that I actually had richer connection with them, but also felt like I had people on my team that were looking out for me too.
And where are you at with, I guess, that mindset of wanting to still, run a successful business? Where are you at with your relationship with yourself and your body through that?
Right now, probably the best I've ever been in the last 5 years, which is like so awesome, like so awesome. I credit a lot of it to my dietitian, Nina. She has helped me so much. October 2024, I was not in a good place. So right now, I know it is really good, but I kind of feel like it is an ever evolving situation. And I feel like body image and like healthy eating issues, that it's never a problem solved. It's just a journey and that ebbs and flows, as long as you can keep, I guess, reflecting and knowing that some days are going to suck, but you have strategies that help you get back into a much better place too.
Would you say anything to that version of yourself that was training really hard and trying to look a certain way and really wanting to be this beautiful, perfecting looking person?
Yeah, I wish I could show them, I guess, the future of like, this is what like is coming ahead for you. Like, you don't have to worry that you're going to miss out on opportunities if you don't look a certain way. It's so silly. But I think more just reassuring that girl that they are more than enough. And it's not about being perfect at all. It's just about being yourself and living a life and making decisions that truly make you happy, and focusing more on decisions that leave you fulfilled versus, I guess, things that you think are going to make you look a specific way.
Once again, authenticity. I think it's such a pivotal value for people to really harness in their lives. And once they find it, I think you just don't look back. I think once you
Yeah.
really embrace who you are and find out what you like and start following it, you have this spark ignited within you that you don't want to stop chasing, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think finding your passion is like such a huge part of that too. In that when I was younger and navigating, not sure where I was going to go, once I found, I guess, my passion for health and fitness, being authentic did come much more naturally. So yeah, just encouraging everyone to do different things and find something that makes you feel alight and excited for the future.
Mm, absolutely. I'm going to jump into, we normally do a segment and it's called hindsight questions. But
Okay.
before we jump into that very quickly, I want to ask one question, which I think you have sort of expressed throughout it. But actually, I'll ask two. I'm always like this. I'll like jump in too quickly. Firstly, your legacy. What is the one thing that you want to leave behind or that you want to share to the people that are on this journey with you?
I definitely think a huge part of my legacy is like female focused, wanting the young girls to know that there is a pathway forward for them, which is not the traditional route, and that they can truly do whatever they put their mind to. And that when they do that, confidence will just grow and grow and grow. And if you are like the most confident version of yourself, life truly does become so fun and so enjoyable. So, really focusing on helping young females feel encouraged and supported in their decision making, and knowing that if you want to keep playing sport, keep playing sport. Like, don't be afraid, don't give it up. Like, that's just such a huge pillar of, I guess, what makes me happy and what I want to keep doing.
I love that. The second thing, before I said jump into the hindsight questions, but your value, what is the one thing that you think in your life has really been a value that you've sticked by that has made you pursue and have the decisions that you've made today?
Another good question. I think that a big value for me is showing up as like a supporter of others, and that to be like the biggest cheerleader for people in any decision they make. It doesn't have to be health and fitness, in their career choices, just really being like a vocal and present supporter of people. I think that comes back to like, I guess maybe that's the person that I was missing when I was a bit younger. So I want to be that person that is really helping others. I think that is something that I want to continue doing too.
Amazing. It is. It's so important, I think, being there for other people and creating that connection in that community, especially when we see it falsely a lot today, like this false sense of community in terms of digital technology and social media. We all think we're connecting, but we're connecting with a barrier, a
Yeah.
screen that's preventing us from having that real, authentic connection. So I love that. Now, hindsight questions. Basically, the segment is about I developed these questions over the podcast last year that so often I'd get so invested in the story that I just forgot to ask some questions that I thought would be like really cool to get to know about the person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull two out of a nothing special but a plastic bag.
Yay.
Um, and I don't know which ones they are, but we will jump into two. And your first one is, what is your recipe for a good day?
Okay. A good day. The perfect day would be waking up early, but that's just because I love to seize the day. So let's say it's like a 6 a.m. rise, 5 a.m. sometimes can be a little too early. Movement straight away. Or well, actually, no, sorry. Before then, I would have my carbs for the day because I can't move without having carbs.
Love it. Love it.
Um, then it would be some kind of movement, probably training at my gym because that is what makes me the most happy with my friends. Getting coffee afterwards and breakfast, and then seeking sunlight outdoors, enjoying nature, probably beachside somewhere with my partner. That would make me really happy. But yeah, I guess simple pillars, seize the day, move your body, and then do something that makes you happy with other people.
Beautiful. I love that. And often it is all about the simple things. We
Yeah,
overcomplicate it and we're like, oh my gosh, I need to be going to this event and doing this. But
I
you really
know.
think
It's
about
so
it,
funny.
it's small
Me and
things.
my partner always say like our favorite time of the week is Sunday afternoon when we do our grocery. It is like literally the best thing that we do in the week. And we're like, it's so simple, but it's just so amazing. And we're like, it's really the simple things that make us the happiest.
I'm so intrigued. Grocery shopping. Why does that fill your cup up so much?
I don't know. We've always done it. It's like a little activity we do together every week. We talk about what food we're going to eat, like we get our little snacks. Like it's just so fun and packing our bags all aesthetic. It's just such a, I don't know. I feel like I'm literally deciding how my next week will go, all based off these decisions of what we're going to fuel ourselves with.
Oh, I'll think about that the next time I go grocery shopping and I'm more in like, oh my gosh. Alrighty. Okay, your second question. If you have ever felt misunderstood, what did you want people to know in that moment?
Hmm. So I definitely felt misunderstood, as an example, when we were opening the gym and decided that's what we were going to do because I think we got the gym lease when we were 21, which like is such a interesting age because
Very.
21, most people are not starting a business that's in health and fitness and turning away from their 21st season of partying, clubbing, all those types of things. And there was a lot of judgment during that period too of people vocally saying like, why now? Like this is like makes so sense. These are meant to be the best years of your life. This is when
I
you're meant to,
hate that saying in your
oh
20s.
my God. And it's like these are meant to be the best years of your life. You're meant to be traveling and have nothing tying you down. And so we're misunderstood. Again, I think had I have been alone in that decision, it would have been so much harder. But I was just lucky that I had my partner and I, Bailey. We were stubborn in our decisions, but we just knew that this decision is what makes us happy, and we're going to continue following that despite what other people are saying. And I'm so glad that we did because even in that period, like people would be out partying on a Friday night and we were painting our gym. Like that was what we were doing. But we kept saying, like, there is nothing I would rather be doing right now. Like, this is such an incredible memory that is going to last a lifetime and it's going to create memories that will last a lifetime. So, again, I come back to like support network, but also just like, what are your values and really think hard on it.
Sounds like he has been such a pivotal part of your journey and collectively together. Like you guys have just had each other's back throughout all of it, through probably ugly, messy, the good, the highs, the lows, everything. What does he mean to you in that sense? Because I feel that there's just this really strong bond that so many people want and create. But what is even that recipe for having and sustaining a healthy relationship?
Yeah, so we've been together 10 years, which means like, and we've gone through like our high school together, like our early like 20s, like we've gone and through so much together. And I always think that with relationships, it's like as you grow and change, do you grow and change together? And some people grow apart, and that's okay. We've just been really lucky that every single time we've evolved, the other person's been so supportive of like, yes, let's do this together. And I think it's can you consistently show up and support one another? And like we always say to each other, like, I feel like I am like punching way out of my league. And then he feels like he's punching way out of his league. So we're both constantly on this page of like, I'm so in love with you and I'm so in love with the person that you helped me be. So like let's just continue, like I guess celebrating one another and going on this journey, knowing that like we are just so lucky to be in this position too.
Beautiful. Always comes back to, grace and just being gratitude for what you have and the
Yeah.
bonds that you're creating. I love that. Last question. I know I've said that like 50 times, but wedding plans, it always gets me like so interested in how people turn up. I feel like it shows sometimes your true colors. Are you a bridezilla? Are you someone that's just loving and authentically going along the process? How's it been for you?
I hope I'm not a bridezilla. I've said that to my bridesmaids a lot. Like I say, like, I really hope that I'm not that type of person. They're like, trust me, you are not at all. So I've just been really enjoying it. Again, like we feel like when we get married, we'll be 10 years together. It's like a decade to celebrate. We're getting married in Bali because that's like a really special place to us, like down near Uluwatu. We've got so many friends coming over, and we're going to stay the week after and do all the things that make us really happy, like going to the gym, good cafes, hanging out beachside. But yeah, I just think obviously like some girls grow up dreaming about their wedding, and I wasn't that girl.
Mm.
So entering into this era, like yes, I'm really excited for our wedding, but I'm more just so excited to marry Bailey. Like that is what it's all about. And the wedding is just this like really cool thing that also happens. But like I just think it's so much for me about our relationship and celebrating that versus about me being a bride. I'm not that type of girl.
Do you think it'll change anything?
Um, I actually think it will. Like some people say no, nothing, but like again, we like own our own home together. Like so much of our lives is like we couldn't be more bonded. But I'm just so excited to like have the same last name, and like I guess for me, it's really about starting in our next chapter of family, all the next kind of things, which like we are so excited for.
Beautiful. So watch this space, I feel,
Yes,
is the next question.
exactly.
I love it. Thank you so much for jumping on today, Maddie, and sharing your story and what you've been through and what you're now creating with your own life personally as well as your business. I think what you're doing in this space is phenomenal and definitely needed. And your perspective and your authenticity through it all, I think, is just magnificent. So thank you so much for turning up as you and creating a beautiful space for young females, but also males, I think, as well, to really feel like themselves in an environment that can be quite toxic. It's definitely needed. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. It was such a good chat.
Thank you. And thank you as well to everyone else out there for joining us for another Secret Sunday session. We'll catch you guys all next time.